Rollups are the core of Ethereum's scaling strategy. They let Ethereum stay secure and decentralized while moving most of the activity off chain. And once you understand how rollups actually work, the entire layer 2 ecosystem stops looking chaotic and starts looking like a mapped system. So today we're breaking down rollups themselves, what a rollup is, how it works, why it posts data back to Ethereum, and why rollups are the only scaling approach that keeps Ethereum security without rewriting the base chain. By the end of this episode, you'll understand the rollup model clearly, and you'll see how every layer 2 fits into it. Ethereum is secure, decentralized, and expensive. That is the cost of global consensus. Every node replays every transaction. That is why Ethereum is credible. That is also why it cannot scale to billions of users on its own. Rollups exist because we need to scale without sacrificing security. Instead of changing Ethereum into something weaker, rollups move the heavy work off the chain and use Ethereum only for settlement and verification. That's the entire point of it. A rollup is simple. Users transact on the rollup chain. The rollup batches those transactions. It compresses them. Then it posts that compressed data to Ethereum. Ethereum doesn't execute the transactions. It stores data and verifies the rollup's claims. That is how you get speed and low fees without abandoning Ethereum. The rollup handles execution. Ethereum handles security. The two systems work together. There are two rollup families, Optimistic and ZK. Same goal, different verification strategy. Optimistic rollups assume transactions are valid. They post the batch to Ethereum and they open up a challenge window. If someone believes the batch is wrong, they can prove it. That is the fraud-proof model. Now ZK models, rollups rather, do the opposite. They generate a cryptographic proof that the batch is valid. Ethereum verifies the proof directly. No challenge window, no assumption of correctness. Optimistic rollups rely on the ability to challenge. ZK rollups rely on math. Both inherit Ethereum security. Both scale in Ethereum. They just take very different paths. Rollups post three things to Ethereum. 1. Data, the compressed transaction or state changes. 2. A state commitment, a hash that represents the new state. 3. A proof or the ability to prove. Fraud proofs for Optimistic, fidelity proofs for ZK. Ethereum doesn't need every detail. It needs enough information to reconstruct the rollup state and verify that the rollup is following the rules. That's just why rollups inherit Ethereum security. If the operator disappears, users can still exit. If the operator cheats, the system can prove it. Ethereum is the final source of truth. Rollups feel cheaper and faster for two reasons. 1. Execution happens off the chain. The rollup controls block times, throughput, and fee markets. That is where the speed comes from. 2. Data is compressed. Instead of paying full price for every transaction on Ethereum, the rollup pays once for a batch and spreads that cost across many users. You're still paying for Ethereum block space, you're just sharing it more efficiently. There are trade-offs. Optimistic rollups have challenge windows and slower exits. ZK rollups have heavy proving costs and complex cryptography. But compared to abandoning Ethereum for a fast chain with weak security, rollups are the better path. Now, rollups are not finished. They're evolving. We already see shared sequencers, alternative datability layers, and modular frameworks like the OP stack, Orbit, and ZK stack. The direction is clear: more chains, more specialization, still anchored to Ethereum for security. Rollups are the engine of Ethereum's scaling roadmap. Once you understand them, the rest of the Layer 2 ecosystem becomes a lot easier to navigate. So, if you want the foundation that makes all of it clear to understand, do grab my book, Understanding Crypto, A Clear Guide for New Investors. It'll give you the mental models that most people skip, and those models are exactly what you need to navigate Ethereum's modular future. Of course, there will be a link to the Amazon market in the description. In the next episode, we go deeper into the part that directly affects your wallet: gas compression. How rollups squeeze more transactions into less data, how compression changes the cost structure, and why the next generation of rollups will compete on data efficiency instead of raw throughput. Stay locked.